Thank you, Fred. Thanks, everyone, for your help on that. And so let me just do a quick introduction. On the call with us is Patty Losenberg. She is a channel partner manager. She actually works very hands-on with Codabears and the whole team and with the sales team here at SourceDay. My name is Mike Romeyn. I'm a sales director. I'm sure I've talked to some of you in the past. Been with the company a little bit over 4 years now, but prior to that, I actually spent my entire career in manufacturing. So I do bring a different perspective to calls. I put myself in your shoes because I've been there for 20 plus years. I've been in manufacturing floors around the world. Actually, just before I left my last job, I was actually in Suzhou, China on a manufacturing floor before I took the job here at SourceDay. So today, what I want to do is just talk about SourceDay's platform and how it relates to Epicor. So literally, we are going to extend the value of the Epicor ERP that you've obviously made a large investment to. And what we have done is built both a supplier collaboration or PO collaboration platform and an AP automation that, again, is an extension of Epicor. And I'll walk through exactly, not going into the technology itself, but why do we exist? Why are we seeing quarter after quarter growth? Just due to, again, everyone knows that supply chain is in everyone's, literally hearing about it on LinkedIn, you're hearing about it on the news daily about things that are happening within the supply chain industry. Parts are running late, costs are going up on raw material, right? So you literally have these big names, that are coming up with these articles and news reports about their issues that they're having in supply chain. So, if you even think about it, if you saw recently that the White House launched a task force around it just to get control of why are things happening ever since COVID and even before COVID. I remember, and again, my days in manufacturing, we would have disruptions quarterly, monthly even sometimes we would have a disruption that would cause impacts on the production floor. So what's happening is a lot of manufacturers today are in reactive mode. They're chasing down these suppliers. They're chasing down raw material, right? Because they have to produce products to deliver to their customers. And what's happening again is that we're also seeing procurement teams are under a tremendous amount of pressure today. So if you're on the call today and you have a procurement team, go talk to them, see what they're challenged with today, because generally what we're seeing is they're being asked to do a lot more with less, because there are labor issues out there. They can't find people, good people to be in a procurement role. So what's happening is you got articles like this coming out. We're seeing them monthly, weekly. We see them all the time that procurement people are quitting. Procurement people are stressed. They're burned out. Supply chain managers are throwing in the towel. This is what this article is about. Why is that happening? Is because of the current dynamics in supply chain. And I'll explain how we are going to help with that, right? And that is, again, just being more of a proactive approach versus a reactive approach. What we're seeing is buyers today are literally managing the life cycle of that PO. Once it's released by Epicor, that becomes a manual task for every one of the buyers. It is an email going out to a supplier, and it could be 100 different suppliers with 100 different PO lines or even blanket POs that they are shooting out via an email to every one of their suppliers, and now they're having to manage this. And we know for a fact through all the $8 billion+ of POs that flow through SourceDay that your PO is going to change 52% of the time. It could be a quantity change, it could be a price change, it could be a due date. And we know for a fact that due dates are fluctuating everywhere today because of the disruption that we're seeing. We know pricing is changing on a regular basis because of raw material cost increases, etc. So these buyers are having to manually go back into Epicor every time there's a proposed change to them. And if they accept that change, they have to go into Epicor and manage this. It's all a manual process, which is very risky for manufacturing companies. First of all, if that buyer is on vacation, it will not happen unless somebody's covering for them. If that person accidentally mistypes something in the ERP, now what happens is your production groups, your GMs, your operations group within the manufacturing plant don't trust the data in the ERP. So there's, again, lots of meetings going on. There's lots of people communicating about what is real dates going on, what is happening with the material, when is it going to hit our dock. There's no visibility, right? So this is what we see. We have Epicor, right? It's a great ERP. You've invested into this platform, and all your stakeholders are using Epicor to run your business, right? Go to your stakeholders and tell them, I'm going to rip Epicor out and I'm going to put you back into spreadsheets. They're all going to run, right? They're going to get scared. They're going to take off. They're not going to do that. But what you are doing is asking your key suppliers, and these are major stakeholders in your business, to literally have a black hole between you, the Epicor, and your users at Epicor and your suppliers, right? So what's happening there is there's that disconnect. And what we're seeing is the procurement group is managing those suppliers in an email, as I mentioned, which is siloed communication. That information in that email is not making its way back into Epicor for other people to have visibility into it. So what happens is now your procurement team, not only are they running around chasing down late material, chasing down acknowledgments, and just chasing suppliers, they're sounding boards of information back to your organization. So that's why they're stressed. That's why they're burned out. They're in firefighting reactive mode. SourceDay was purposely built for manufacturing companies, distributors. We see retail, CPG as well. But if you think of a manufacturer, how we're going to bridge them together is what we call SourceDay. It's a supplier collaboration engine. So we're going to bridge that gap. We're going to get rid of that black hole, bring everyone onto on a collaboration platform where you can have complete visibility. But more importantly on that is going to give the buyers now a tool, right? You're investing into your buyers, you're investing into your people of your business, and giving them a technology that's going to flip them from being a reactive tactical buyer to a proactive strategic buyer. So that's due to automation. We will automate a lot of the processes that they're doing manually today, which is mundane. It's just literally them, chasing down suppliers and chasing down late POs and acknowledgments. Now let automation take care of that. Let them focus on exception management. This is the key for buyers to they'll flip to be a proactive, strategic, value-added buyer to your organization. That's what SourceDay is about, right? This is the ecosystem here. We have multiple modules on SourceDay. We are modular, so you can grow into the SourceDay platform. We have an RFQ module. If you're currently doing RFQs in spreadsheets, we do have an RFQ module. Today, 99% of our Epicor customers, 100% of our Epicor customers really are running PO collaboration because they're bridging that gap between their procurement group and their suppliers. We also have AP automation for three-way matching. So I'll explain that here in a minute. And obviously, we have your supply base. One thing I will bring up for anyone that's technical or IT on the call today, you don't manage SourceDay. SourceDay has a managed services team that literally will onboard and train all your users at the company, at the manufacturer, and every one of your suppliers. We are responsible for onboarding and training them. Not only that, we provide 100% of the technical support once you're live on the platform. So the IT teams are going to smile, and I can't see your faces, but if you're wanting to look at a platform like this, you know that you're not going to have to provide the technical support after you're live on the platform. There is a ton of analytics. I can go into this and I'll show you some screenshots of our analytics, but lots of dashboards, information that you might not be able to get out of Epicor. It is in SourceDay, and it's related to PO data. And we're talking, PPV information. We're talking, who are my top suppliers? Who are my bottom suppliers? There's just a lot of analytics and data in the SourceDay platform that you can extract. And there's lots of dashboards and reports that you now have at the tip of your fingers to better run your procurement group. And not only that, having more strategic discussions with your suppliers. Supplier adoption comes on every call that we have is, are my suppliers going to adopt SourceDay? The answer is yes, they will adopt them. Now we have stragglers out there that are harder, need more holding hands, but we literally have over 90% adoption of suppliers on the SourceDay platform. By the end of 2022, we will have over 15,000 suppliers globally on SourceDay. So you can imagine the breadth of suppliers. And I always challenge people on the call, if you have supplier adoption concerns, send me your supplier list and let me bounce it off our database, and I can tell you how many of your suppliers are currently active on SourceDay. So again, supplier adoption is very high. Let's just dive into some screenshots. We're not doing any demos today. If you're interested in seeing more about SourceDay live, please reach out to your Coda Bears representative and they'll reach out to me and we can coordinate a call. But this is a snapshot of just a dashboard that the buyer uses. What I mean by that is today, all that communication going on between that buyer and supplier is again in a spreadsheet or it's in an email. And if you can imagine as a buyer managing multiple suppliers, multiple PO lines at a time, they're fumbling through emails all the time to find out what is going on. Did someone just push out a date? Did someone just increase the price? Well, SourceDay is going to give them this nice dashboard that literally is a visual indicator telling them exactly what is needed of their time, right? I have updates. Suppliers are coming to me. I will give them a dashboard with every supplier showing them, hey, side-by-side comparisons. This is what's on my PO, but this is what my supplier is about to propose to me. Now I start working in bulk. I start reacting and literally start managing my suppliers and all my updates in a more efficient way, right? Instead of emails. And a lot of other things. If you're running MRP, okay, within Epicor, which most of you guys are probably running MRP, we actually have a tie into the MRP functionality to where we'll pull in your exceptions, your move outs, your move ins and cancellations. More importantly, now they're actionable. You literally have a screen, you look at it and you start actioning them. If I have 100 PO lines that need to be canceled, you better jump on those really quick because you do not have demand for that material. So you need to drive efficient ways of notifying those suppliers to get that PO canceled in a timely manner. So this is, again, a buyer's dashboard. It literally just bubbles up everything in front of them that needs their attention. And what we want to do is have these buyers, again, instead of reacting, we need them to be proactive and focus on exception management, meaning let automation take care of a lot of the mundane tasks. So this is, again, a buyer's dashboard. Manage by exception. There's a lot here. I'm not going to go bullet by bullet, but if you think about how a buyer is working day in and day out, once they come into the office, they run a workbench, they're being told to go buy X amount of material from this supplier, and on this date, I need it now. Well, what's happening is they're reacting to that, right? So what SourceDay has done is let's automate some of the processes. Let's automate the acknowledgement process because acknowledging a PO is probably the most important part of that PO is getting it acknowledged for the very first time. Because if you don't, how do you even know that that supplier got the PO because you sent it in an email, right? And you don't even know that supplier got it. And if they do have it, how do you know that they can meet the terms and conditions? So automate that acknowledgement process and let the buyer now focus on the handful of suppliers that have not acknowledged over, let's say, a 48-hour period. Again, we are free suppliers. There's no cost to suppliers. We have scorecarding capabilities, which is very, very powerful. If you're an ISO company, it's a requirement to grade your suppliers. Out of the box, real-time supplier scorecards, right? So there's technology there. ASNs, I can go on, but literally we want your suppliers, again, to focus on, again, exception management. So I'll keep going here. I talked about the dashboard here, managed by exception. I won't have to go again into the dashboard, but this is a very powerful part of the platform because it gives a buyer's tools, right, to become more efficient. Supplier performance, I hit on this. This is just a screenshot. We have a holistic view or a macro view of every one of your suppliers on SourceDay. We can tell you, how are they doing for my business? How responsive are they? What is their acknowledgement rate? What is my overall on-time delivery, right? And then you can go drill into a specific supplier. And what's really nice about our scorecard is that you can share it real time with that supplier. So now they know how they're doing with your business. A lot of them don't know how they're doing with your business because you have a quarterly business review. Well, if I had real time visibility in how I'm doing, I can be, again, a proactive supplier and do better for you, right? But they just don't have the data. Now we're getting into what we call insights. Was launched earlier this year. We have a group of data scientists on staff that are building analytics KPIs within SourceDay that literally gives you data that, again, you might be able to get out of Epicor, but this is real time. You don't have to dump it into spreadsheets or anything, any type of reports. We can drill down into OTIF, for instance, on time in full. How are my suppliers, and really get micro on it, meaning at a site level, at a buyer level, at a supplier level. How are they doing for my business? More importantly, how are you compared to the peers that are on SourceDay, your peers on the SourceDay platform? Meaning, am I doing better than them, or am I doing worse? There's all kinds of things on PO insights that we have. PPV, for instance, which suppliers are reducing my costs? Which suppliers are increasing my costs? Cash flow protection. With move outs and move ins, what impact is that having on my cash flow? CFOs, financial directors love this dashboard because now they have visibility into impacts of cash flow. And we got lead time demand planning. This is something that's newer. It's going to keep evolving to really start drilling down what's happening with my lead times. Epicor at the item master might say, hey, lead time is 2 weeks, but in reality, it showed up 4 weeks. In 4 weeks. So do I need to adjust my lead time? So now you're gonna have data and, again, that you can review at an item level on what lead times are, so you can plan ahead, buy on time, and obviously make those adjustments.
Hey, Mike, I've got a few questions for you.
Okay, perfect.
Does SourceDay support Epicor Cloud customers?
Yes, definitely, yes. And we prefer it because we are a SaaS platform. We are cloud as well. So cloud to cloud integration, as everyone knows, is the preferred method, but we obviously also do on-prem as well.
Okay. And then I got 2 more questions from Matt Heck.
Okay.
Is there a version for DoD customers where SourceDay's solution is hosted in a Fedramp compliant cloud?
So GovCloud, is that what you're referring to? Most likely. But to answer your question today, no, we are not. For DoD, I actually have DoD customers. We actually have aerospace defense customers. We have a lot of customers, but we weren't required to be on GovCloud. 2023, there's an initiative by our CEO to be on GovCloud. I just don't know where it's fallen in the 2023 roadmap. If I had to estimate, I would say middle of the year is where we're going to be in the GovCloud.
Okay. And then also for Matt, is the list of suppliers that SourceDay has onboarded publicly available? This would be a great list to have publicly available so prospective customers could search to see if their major suppliers are already aware of SourceDay and using it.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. It comes up a lot, and unfortunately, the answer is no. Just for proprietary reasons, for NDA reasons, our customers are not allowing us to share supplier information again. But what we have done is, if you send us a report, we can give you just details on, are they on board? Do they have an account, for instance? Are they active on the platform? But I can't send out, or we cannot send out a master list or share it publicly so people can go search and see if they're already on the platform. That's just one of the processes we go through. We obviously are very protective of the data and any information we have on the SourceDay platform. And by the way, back to the GovCloud, I want to make sure everyone's aware, if Matt, you would ask a question like this, we are SOC 1, SOC 2, Type 1, and Type 2 compliant. So just an FYI, if there's anyone on the call that thinks about security, we do have those certifications in place.
All right, that's all of the questions we got so far. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. So again, these are just some screenshots of the KPIs, the dashboards that we have. Again, this is a lot of data, this exportable data as well that you can have, that you can drill down. So I'll keep going here for the sake of time. Average lead times again. Now let's talk about, before I dive into AP automation, let's talk about the impact that we have on AP on the PO side without even doing any automation part. So if you really think about one of the impacts that SourceDay has on an ERP like Epicor is when suppliers are getting inundated by when buyers are getting inundated by their suppliers with all these change requests. I mentioned 52% of the POs are going to change. They literally are manually going back into the ERP, Epicor, and making those changes, which I mentioned earlier, which again is risky. Sometimes it doesn't happen. But with SourceDay, if you're running PO collaboration, when a buyer makes an approval, let's say they get, a request from 10 different suppliers with 10 different changes, all we want them to do is make a decision. If they accept those changes, SourceDay real time updates every PO line or blanket release real time once they hit accept. So now what happens over time is your ERP becomes more accurate, it's clearer. People start trusting the data in it because there's no human intervention into the ERP at the PO line level. So what happens when your PO data becomes clean? Your AP team is going to start clapping because they are going to see an increase in their first pass match rate because the ERP data is accurate. If you go talk to an AP person today and ask them what is the major cause of their mismatch, they will tell you it's because the price on the PO is wrong. And the reason for that is because the buyers are not going back and updating the price. And sometimes they don't even know that the price has changed, right? And they're literally having to manually go, the AP team now has to reach out to the procurement team. They have to update the PO, and then they can finish the three-way match and then pay the invoice on time. So with PO collaboration and AP together, it's the best of both worlds for procurement groups and AP teams, because what we're going to do on the AP side is automate the three-way matching process. So yes, we have an OCR technology like every other platform out there. We have email capturing capabilities, so you suppliers won't know any different, right? They're going to send in that PO, and not the PO, the invoice, and we'll email capture it and begin OCR scanning it. We go down to the line level, right? So we are different than other platforms out there. We're very, very focused on raw material, direct spend, three-way matching. We do have non-PO functionality in SourceDay, but we are heavily focused, and all our functionality was built around direct spend at a line or blanket release level. So we will automate that three-way match. And not only that, we have auto vouchering capabilities, right? So now we can create the unposted voucher in Epicor, and depending on your match rate, an AP person might not even touch that invoice, right? Because the goal is, in most AP teams that I'm talking to weekly, daily, is we want to go touchless. We want to go paperless. We want to become more efficient in the AP side so we pay our suppliers in time. Not only that, I want to take advantage of 2% net 10, for instance. I want to close my month out earlier because I can become more efficient in the AP side. Again, AP automation, it is literally being talked about. I'm on calls all week long about AP automation. COVID expedited that because unfortunately people were still having to go into the office and do matching, doing check runs, etc. Well, now they're getting into the point where they don't want to continue that. And with growth, right, means more invoices, means more POs. And what we're really, really seeing is executives are saying we either throw more people at the invoice problem or we got to automate. And their option is to automate. So this is just a screenshot of the various buckets of SourceDay. Again, we will put it in one of three to start off with: awaiting receipt, mismatch, or match. But again, automate this process. I won't go into the technology side of things. Again, if you're interested in AP automation, which is a standalone platform, again, you can do it standalone for Epicor, please reach out to Coda Bears and we can set something up. But again, let's get rid of the paper touching. Every time someone is manually touching that PO, there's costs associated with that. Let's get to the point of digitally, if your suppliers are sending in these invoices via digital format, let technology take over. Yes, we know that some suppliers are still sending in paper invoices to your mailbox. Shame on them, they're not going to get paid on time. But those suppliers that are sending digital images of their invoices to your or PDF, let's consume and start automating this process. And by the way, we talked about managed services earlier, about onboarding and training your users and your suppliers. SourceDay actually, managed services, builds every one of the templates for your supplier invoices. So no one on your team has to do that. Let SourceDay build that template. You're not in the business to do that. SourceDay will build the templates. I mentioned RFQ. Again, I'll keep this high level. If you're running an RFQ I know that Epicor has RFQ, so we don't really see a lot of Epicor customers moving away from that, and I don't recommend it. But if you're in a manual process with spreadsheets or anything like that, we do have an RFQ, what we call collaboration platform. So just becoming more efficient in the RFQ process. Thank you, Coda Bears, for allowing Patty and I to come on. I did go a little fast there to obviously get you back on track. I will open it up for any additional questions, Fred. And if there's not any, please, again, if you're interested in going deeper dive and learning more about SourceDay, more importantly, we want to learn more about you guys and the challenges that you're having on both the procurement side and maybe even on the AP side. It is the time to change, guys. I'm telling you, executives are talking about this. Boardrooms are talking about what do we got to do as we're growing? How do we become more efficient, drive waste out of procurement, and again, impact our buyers' lives? So if you're interested in talking to us a little bit more about that, again, reach out to your Coda Bears representative. Thank you.
So if you have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat, and we'll get to them in the order they come in here. Got one. Are there any cons to AP automation?
Great question. Somebody asked that to me, and I literally had to think, why would there be a con in AP automation when you know the way it's done today? Meaning people are touching invoices, people are, having to manually process the invoices. Not only that, I was on a call just last week. The controller told me that my process is that we take the packing slip from receiving, we take the invoice, we take the receiver, we take the bill of lading, and we print everything out and we staple it with a check and put it in a file cabinet. And I thought to myself, you are going back, not going forward, right? And not only that's not very environmentally conscious, printing everything out. So I challenged them and said, what is the cost of paper? What is the cost of toner? What is the cost of the filing cabinets? And when you're in an audit time, how difficult is it when they tell you to pull up invoice number 1234 and you're scrambling to go find that invoice in a file cabinet in a dusty warehouse somewhere? So no, I personally, Fred, whoever asked that question, don't think there's a con. The only thing I could think of is, do people want to change? I hope the answer would be yes, I want to change. But I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Yeah, my thought was just fear. People are always adverse to change, but you just got to walk them through that.
Yep, and it's financial data, so they're like, oh my gosh, it's on a platform, it's not in front of me, right? But we're seeing growth left and right with AP automation. People are overcoming those fears and saying, I got to change. I mean, I can't keep hiring people to keep up with my invoices. I mean, not that I don't want you to hire them, but AP people, Fred, do more than just three-way matching and vouchering. They do a lot more. So free them up to be, again, more strategic in their role. So that's right. Fear is the only thing that I can think of that would be a con.
Okay. Got a couple more here. How many core customers do you have currently?
Ooh, it's our third largest install base. So if I had to guesstimate, don't hold my feet to the fire on this one. I would say in the probably 50, 75, or even 100 range now, something in that range.
Okay. Oops. Apparently I can't type today when I type the response in. There we go. Does SourceDay AP automation utilize artificial intelligence?
Yes, it is. It's AI. Actually, I want to be careful saying that. It is machine learning. So yeah, it can have a flavor of AI, but it does have on the OCR technology we use. It's one of the leaders, is actually the leader in the industry. Most companies are using. It is machine learning. So as the invoice is consumed, we start scanning it, and obviously we built the template. But if something changed on that invoice that the template wasn't taken into consideration, the machine will learn and then change that template, and lo and behold, there you are doing your three-way matching.
Okay. Got that. Who trains suppliers on how to use SourceDay for AP or PO processing?
Well, there's no training on the suppliers for AP because all they're doing is sending it to your AP box, right? Just like they're doing today. They don't know where it's going after they hit send. We literally consume it once they hit send. They don't know anything. There's no training for them. They're not doing anything different on the AP side. PO side, totally different. We as in SourceDay's supplier success team is responsible for onboarding and training every one of your suppliers. But let's be clear here that we again, this is a team effort. Once we partner as partners, we both are going to obviously get suppliers on board, but we take the heavy lifting. We just might need your help nudging some suppliers if they're not very responsive. But it is on our shoulders to get your buyers and your suppliers all trained and on board.
All right. And do you have data on what percentage of purchase order changes?
Yes, I showed that earlier. It was 52 today. Again, this is a snapshot in Q1. Here we are in Q3. But PO changes, what we see again, we have billions of dollars of POs flowing through SourceDay. It's 52% of what we saw in Q1. Actually, when COVID hit in 2020, that went up almost to 70% of the POs were changing. And guess what? The customers on SourceDay that were utilizing our dashboards and they built war rooms around that just because they had better ways of now pushing out due dates, canceling POs, etc. Instead of doing it all email by email, they had an efficient way and a collaboration way to do that. So yes, 52% of POs will change, and you can go ask the buyers, how often are they having to update that PO in the ERP? And they'll tell you it's every day, all day long.
Okay. Jason says, my AP clerk's not excited to lose her job, but she can learn new skills.
But that's the whole thing. And Jason, you bring up a very good question. I guarantee, not a question, a comment. And I will challenge you with that, because let the AP person see the platform and they're going to smile, not get scared, because they literally are just constantly just messing with invoices, and they have more jobs than just, again, working on a three-way match and reaching out to a buyer because the PO is wrong. They have other tasks. So you said, Fred, right. Learn something else. I mean, these AP clerks are not inexpensive. They're expensive and they need to be value add to the organization. So we're not a threat to the AP clerk. What we will tell you is a CFO, an executive, they'll tell you that, we need to automate and not continually just throw people at this problem, because it's not the way you can sustain growth. It's not. Again, I was in the world of manufacturing for 20 something years. That's what we did. Every time our manufacturing process, our business went up, we threw people at the problem. That's why we adopted lean manufacturing. That's why we did operational excellence. So same concept. Let's take that into procurement and into AP.
Plus, I don't think you're going to retire the AP clerk, because you're still going to have manual invoices that have to be entered. They don't go out on a PO.
That's exactly right. And then you got non-PO invoice, like you said, you got POs that are coming in, utility bills, you got things that are coming in that you have to still process, right? So automate what you can automate to free that AP person up. That's the whole key. And I don't think I've ever had anyone really even ask me, not even ask me, make a comment that I feel it's a threat to their job. It's just going to make them a better employee for their company.
Okay, the next two I'm going to do together because they're kind of related. Is there a charge for suppliers to use the solution, and how is SourceDay priced?
I won't get into, so I won't give you pricing obviously on a webinar, but no cost to supplier. Not only that, you can have as many suppliers on the platform and as many users at that supplier. More than likely, you have more than one customer service rep, a CSR at that supplier. So generally 2 to 3 is what we see per supplier that you can have on SourceDay, no cost. We do all the onboarding and training. The pricing structure, very simple. We're subscription-based pricing. We're a SaaS platform. You have licenses on the PO side. It's a subscription base. It's a buyer and a viewer, which is a read-only. And then we have, professional services. On the AP side, it's transactional. So it depends on how many invoices on what the cost will be.
Okay.
Yes, Jason, that is correct. So a non-inventory invoice that didn't go out for a purchase order, that would not go through the AP automated workflow.
It can. We can now. We have non-PO functionality in the AP platform, meaning we can consume a non-PO invoice via OCR, and we'll put it in the non-PO bucket. And then we are now, obviously, you have to tie the GL codes to it. And we are actually about to launch this quarter advanced approval workflows, meaning most non-POs have to go get approved before they are vouchered. And that's what we're going to have for the non-PO. Non-PO is really starting to take to the next level within the AP platform. So now you have one platform for both PO and non-PO.
Awesome. That kind of matches Christopher's question. Right now they have their buyer doing the PO, the receiver, and the AP matchup, and then it goes off to AP. So they're matching the invoice with the receiver, with the purchase order, and saying, yeah, it's good to pay, go ahead and pay it. How do they do that workflow?
Well, my first question is going to be why? Why is the buyer doing that? That's not the role of a buyer. You know, the buyer should not be doing, the receiver is received in, the receiver does that, right? And so they get so as the buyer must be getting the invoice then through email, and they're taking that invoice and they're comparing it to their PO that they created, and then the receiver within Epicor, which to me is a function of the AP team, and we automate that because we're tied into the receiver, we're tied into the PO table, and we're tied into the financial table. So that's where the automation comes in.
The workflow is doing that, and if nothing matches or the receiver quantity doesn't match the AP invoice, then what happens?
It puts it into a mismatch status, and that's where an AP person, I've never seen a buyer do this, an AP person needs to reconcile that, meaning they need to either reach out to the buyer and say, you need to update your PO, and once that PO is updated, we sync with the database, we see it, we put it in from we go from mismatch to match, and then we auto voucher that and create the unposted voucher.
So there is a workflow that's followed and rules for these. There you go, Chris.
Definitely. Workflows and rules.
Okay.
These are great questions. Thank you.
And we did have some questions from the panelists. I thought I got them all in. I know Hasso and Bruce were putting things in. If I missed something, if you want to unmute yourself and go ahead and ask it, just in case I got lost between copying things over. And if anybody else has any questions, go ahead and type them into the chat window. We still got some time left.
Awesome. So if anybody's doing non-three-way matching with AP invoices, please make a comment. Darn, I'm not getting paid for my birthday this year.
That's funny.
All right, we'll give it another couple minutes. If there's no questions, we'll just break early for lunch. Mike and Patty, I do thank you guys for coming in and helping fill in the gap that we had when we had to reschedule that person, or that session, I should say.
Not a problem at all, Fred.
Always a pleasure. And I did look, and we have about 70 actually Epicor customers, which quite a few are Coda Bears. So thank you, Coda Bears, for being a very good partner and advocate of our solution.
Well, Patty, someday we'll learn how to sell it, but I just turn around and say, go talk to Patty.
No, you guys are a rock star partner. We really appreciate the partnership. And again, if there's no other questions, and if there are questions afterwards, or if you're interested in diving deeper, again, just reach out to your Coda Bears representatives, and they'll reach out to us, and we can set up a discovery call just to get to know your processes a little bit better, and then see if there's a good fit, right? And but if no one has questions, again, on behalf of SourceDay, we really appreciate everyone's time today, and continue to stay safe out there and enjoy the rest of your summer. I know school's about to start. And again, thanks again.
Thanks, Mikey.
Two other things here. Christopher Meng, I see you got your hand up. I'll get you in a second, and we can unmute you. Matt had a follow-up to the Fedramp question. You mentioned SOC 1 and SOC 2. You might also want to look at CMMC because that's also becoming a requirement for the DoD environment.
Yes, we are. Yeah, we are. That's something we are taking into consideration, not taking into consideration. We're looking at doing. So thank you for bringing that up, Matt. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, Chris Sperming, I'm going to unmute you. You should be able to unmute yourself if you've got a question yet.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, I know I've been asked code of beer before, but I never have a chance to talk to you about the AP process and the purchasing process. Yeah, over here we have a buyer match all the invoice corrections and so on like that. Like when we send out the PO and we got a confirmation back, the price higher or lower or quantity, and then the purchasing make the corrections and everything match from dollar to dollars, and then we send it to the AP to process it. And I agree with you that it's not part of the buyer performance, but that's how we do it over here.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I don't think our platform would benefit you guys because what's happening is now again, the buyer can have access to the AP platform, right? And what they could do is they would see the invoice, they know the PO, they can match it, right? They can see if there's a match or mismatch, and then they can correct their PO.
Yes.
And then they can notify the the thing is though, you got to remember once it hits matched, she or he would not have to tell the AP person to voucher because SourceDay's AP platform has auto vouchering capabilities. So once it hits that match status, we, as in SourceDay, will create that unposted voucher in Epicor. So instead of an AP person doing the matching, a buyer could do the matching. It's awkward to say that. I've never really even said that on a call before. But if that's your process, they literally are like a buyer / AP person.
That's correct. I agree with you on that part.
So, and then they could do the matching process and put their AP hat on. And then once it hits the match status, let SourceDay create the unposted voucher in Epicor. And then literally the AP person can make one more view before they post for payment.
Yep.
If you want to talk more about your process, we can definitely do that. Just, reach out and to your CoderBear rep and we can set up a call.
Yeah, I think we need to do that someday. Probably next month or so like that when we have more time. So what about the scanning process? Do we have to scan any invoices through the system to match it up?
Well, if you are currently scanning invoices like the ones that come into regular mail, if you're scanning those, you can manually upload them into SourceDay and it begins the OCR scanning.
Okay.
Yep. 2 ways to get them in: either email capture or upload from a network file.
I think there's an email capture.
Yeah, email capture is basically your suppliers are sending in invoices today via, let's say, AP@fastenal.com. I'm just throwing out something, and they send it to you. It's a mailbox, and once we see that it hit that mailbox, we consume and start extracting the data off the invoice.
Yeah.
Yep.
I agree with what you say is all along with all those stuff, but that how we did over here. I know I've done those before, similar to your products. But we can schedule some out of time to talk about that.
Sounds great. No, I appreciate all your questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fred, I think, Fred, we're at the top of the hour. I want to be respectful of everyone's time and obviously people's stomach. They're probably hungry.
You got it. All right. We're going to take a break here for lunch. We'll be back at 12:45 with SSRS tips and tricks. And that's me. So I guess I got to be back at 12:45 to kick that off.
All right. Thanks, Fred. Thanks, everyone at CoderBears. Everyone have a great day.